All right, welcome to the next episode of the Rap Thought Podcast. And for this episode, we're going to be talking about Joyner Lucas's debut album, ADHD.
Debut album?
Yeah, technically it's his debut album.
What about the 508?
It's a mixtape, quote unquote mixtape. I know, that's what I thought. I was like, this isn't his first album, but...
Because I've heard, I got on board with Along Came Joyner, and then I listened to 508, but I thought 508 was an actual release.
No,
okay.
I guess the labels don't look at it as a standard album. They say it's a mixtape, so this is technically his debut album.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was news to me.
Glad we could clear that up for everyone.
Yeah.
I know, he's actually put out a decent amount of music.
Yeah. And just his music videos alone have been really good.
And he's been rapping since 2011. So he's not like a newcomer.
Right.
He's almost a vet. 10 years in the game, almost.
Yeah, that's kind of weird to phrase it like that, because I was just talking to someone the other day that Joyner is definitely, in the last 10 years or so, one of my favorite artists of currently. And so
Of this kind of artists.
Yeah, this new generation of artists, he's definitely in my top 5, top 3. He's one of my favorite ones. He's getting to that, when you really like an artist and they get to the point where, okay, they can drop whatever album, I'm just gonna pick it up, I don't have to sample it. Like Joyner's getting that way for me.
Gotcha.
So I really like him.
Cool. So what was your first introduction to... Not your first introduction, your introduction to Joyner.
Intro to Joyner. You know what? I'm not sure. I don't know if it's I'm not racist. I don't know where it was. But I remember I heard him on something. I thought I really liked his cadence. I liked his voice. I liked his flow. I liked it. It all sounded really good. And so I think I got it off of Dat Piff or something, and I picked up Along Came Joyner, and I really liked that album. It's really good. And so from there on, I've just been listening to him. But I would say it's been a couple years that I've been listening to him, off of features, off of his music videos. And
definitely my introduction to him is his music video, Ross Cappuccioni. I don't know how to say his last name. Have you seen that?
I remember it's on Along Came Joyner, and I know the track.
So I've never heard of him before. Actually, I found out about this song from Joe Budden podcast. He mentioned it, and they were just like, this is an incredible video. Joyner is an incredible lyricist. You got to listen to this. I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And it is a really cool video. It's really well made. The song is really good. It tells the tale of this guy joining a gang and getting jumped in and all that stuff. And this came out in 2015. But it wasn't enough to make me want to listen to all of his projects. I just thought it was a really cool concept, and I thought it was cool that he made that song based off of true events.
Yeah, he was watching an interview with him, and he was talking about Devil's Work, which we'll be talking about later in the podcast.
Yeah.
But he was describing that music video as a closure conversation. And so that's one of the ones he defined as, conversations that people, they have with themselves, they may have with close circles, but they're not comfortable with talking about it out loud. So the 2 other videos that he mentioned as examples for those were I'm Not Racist, where he's sitting across from the table with, a white dude talking about, why do we hate each other? And then also the other one that he referenced was I'm Sorry, which had to do with suicide. Right. So, I thought those were just those music videos and what he portrays and having those conversations.
Yeah, they're really captivating. He does a really good job with those videos and those songs.
Yeah.
The question is, does he carry that into an album?
Yeah.
I think it's a tall order. I expected a lot from him. So I had a lot of expectations going into this album because of how well he's crafted those songs and how, intricate they are and how detailed and how great the lyricism is. So I was definitely expecting quite a bit coming into this.
With all the music videos that he's put out, the content that he can talk about, you can just tell he's a bright and intelligent person. You were expecting kind of this album of like, okay, well, if we've talked about Tupacalypse Now and the themes behind that, to bring bring that idea into an album and just flood it with just knowledge, stories, tying things together. Is that fair to say, or is that putting too much on the...
No, I think that's fair, but I'm also just looking at his talent and his ability, and that's based off of features. His last mixtape, I don't know what the number is.
508.
Yeah,
something.
Whatever it is. Like, I listened to it once and I was like, oh, this is cool, and never went back to it. I wasn't like, oh my god, this is a great project. I love this album. It was cool, but I didn't feel the need to listen to it again.
Yeah, I haven't analyzed that one like we are with other albums, but I remember there was a track on there towards the end that it just kind of blew me away, because he's just talking about how, I'm doing this for the fame and all that, which he talks a lot about in this album.
Right. Yeah, which kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, we'll probably have some similar thoughts on this one.
Right. So before we get into the album in depth, we just want to thank all of our listeners. Thank you for checking us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, Stitcher. Thank you for following us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Keep interacting with us. We'll be posting short clips of the podcast, and we'll be interacting with you guys and asking questions and all that fun stuff. So definitely follow us on all those platforms. Hit us up whenever you want. We're always down to talk hip hop and talk about the albums that we're discussing and share our rap thoughts with you guys.
Yeah, I was just talking with one of my friends back from high school about the Frank Ocean one, and so that was cool because he suggested a couple albums that I should listen to, and I spent some time listening to those. And yeah, so definitely throw some our way.
Awesome. And we will pick some albums out that we're hearing from the listeners, where they're suggesting albums for us to take a look at. We'll definitely keep those in mind. For the most part, it's either it's a new album and we both agree to do it, or it comes out of a hat and it's a random album that we discuss.
Yeah, but I mean, even some of them, one of us may not agree on it. It's just, it was just thrown in there as like, hey, I want to check this out. And that's what it is. So it's really, it's all game.
Yeah. So let's get into ADHD.
ADHD.
So just starting out, the title of the album, Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder.
Well done.
Yeah, I did my homework. So obviously the album title suggests that Joyner has ADHD, and he's making it part of his identity as an artist.
Yeah, I was seeing that in some past interviews. He's been bringing it to light of how ADHD has impacted his life, and how it's been a struggle for him. And it's weird because like this album is titled ADHD, but if this is just from me, but if we're gonna weigh his thoughts on women versus struggles with ADHD, the women weighs more than the ADHD. So it was it was just interesting because
maybe the way he deals with women is because of his ADHD.
And that's one of the things I saw, in terms of any type of mental illness is going to impact your relationships with work, with girlfriends, with family members, with work, with anything. So, I mean, if you want to look at ADHD, knowing what you know about it, listen to the tracks and be like, oh, okay, I wonder if that was impacted by ADHD. That's up to the listener. Right. So, but he's not, I don't want to say that he's making it, he's explicitly saying in the song, hey, I had this issue with this woman, ADHD. Right. Hey, I had this issue with these other artists, ADHD. That's not what I got from there.
And all right, let's get into the first skit. He's talking to a doctor, and he's doing a Rorschach test with the doctor, and the doctor's voice is super creepy and
reminds you of Dr. West from Relapse.
Exactly, yeah. But that was more animated. This is a little bit more like kind of scary and harrowing. But by the end of it, it's like it kind of shocks you a little bit. Like the doctor starts cussing at him and calling him a fucking retard, and it kind of shocks you a little bit. But at the end of it, I'm like, what does that have to do with ADHD?
Right.
What does a Rorschach test have to do with Joyner having ADHD as a kid?
Right. And I was trying to look up a little bit about Rorschach tests. So, I know a little bit that they are ink block tests, right? Mm-hmm. So they have a picture and you're supposed to state what that picture makes you think of.
Right.
As far as what Rorschach tests for, that is something I need to go and research more on. But I didn't catch that part. But it was interesting because there was some of the themes that first came up. It was a basketball. There was one before that.
It was a butterfly.
A butterfly, which
television,
and then I think it's a basketball.
And then a basketball.
Next. And then where he quote unquote fucked up was when he saw the condom, and then that's where the doctor just lost it and said, "No, you're an idiot. That's not right." So I don't know. I'm curious what you read into that. My thoughts were that going into, okay, cool, you're seeing the butterfly. That's the first thing, most people see. Okay, now the television. So I read that as, become lazy, just chill, don't really do a whole lot, just settle at home. Yeah, basketball. And it made me think of, the game, Kendrick Lamar, where they talk about, for black people, our only hope of reaching out of the hood and doing well is to find either rapping or basketball. So with him saying a basketball, it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, you're on board. You're good. Keep watching that TV, watch this media, see this basketball. Mm-hmm. And then the next one being a condom, which maybe is synonymous with practicing safe activity, safe sex. Mm-hmm. So he's seeing the condom. Maybe that's a play on like, oh wait, now you're seeing safety. You're trying to be protective. No, I don't like that. So I don't know if I'm reading too far into it, or I was trying to make something out of something.
Right, but and maybe it's not that deep.
Maybe it's not that deep.
We don't know. We'll get into it later in the album when there's another skit with the doctor. The doctor comes back. I'll just mention it now. After that one, I kind of started to think that the doctor is actually the voice inside of Joyner's head.
The voice of ADHD?
Yeah, just kind of messing with him. And that's why his thoughts are a little bit skewed when dealing with ADHD. Because in the skit later on, he offers him cocaine and he's like, this is going to solve your ADHD.
Right.
So that's almost like the inner voice is like, oh, if I just do cocaine, I'll be fine. It'll work out for me.
Yeah.
The ADHD will go away.
And I'd be curious to read about the effects of cocaine and ADHD, if that amplifies it, if that
calms you down.
Calms you down.
It's interesting. But yeah, we'll get more into that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's how the album starts off with. And for me, when I first heard it, I was like, okay, we're in for something like deep, or like it's about to get crazy.
Right.
Like he's going to dive really into the ADHD issue.
But then we have I Lied. Yeah. And I actually really, really like the song because it plays on, hey, I got rich, I came up, I made all these promises to people. When I get rich, Matt, you get a car, you get some stacks, you get to stun on people and all that. But then he's talking about how it really did change him though. You're not getting a stack. I'm not going to let you stun. I'm not helping you out.
Yeah. And it's a different type of song compared to most hip-hop songs when they're talking about money or getting somewhere. Usually artists don't talk about how I'm not going to put my family on. Yeah. I'm not going to help my family out. I'm not going to help my friends out. I'm keeping all this money for myself. Right. I made it. You guys didn't help me come up. I did this all myself. Mm-hmm. So you don't hear that much. It's a different take on going from nothing to having everything.
Yeah. And there's some, like in the chorus, where he's talking about being jobless and plotting on shooting himself. So there are some ties to possible suicide, but also coming up and everything.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know. He's just turning around, but then also like not wanting to help the others.
Right.
So I think it completely changed because he came from a dark side past.
And he doesn't really give too much of a reason. He's just like, fuck it. Like I'm rich. I don't want to be stressed anymore. I don't want to deal with any negativity from people I knew in my past or my family members who just wanted to be in my life because they wanted my money that I have now. he's just kind of like pushing them off to the side. Like, I don't want to deal with you guys. I just want to do what I want to do. And kind of, you know, before I got my money, I lied and I said I was going to pay back the loans that you guys gave me and said I was going to put you guys on or buy you houses. And he's like, no, I lied.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I
respect the acknowledgement of, like,
yeah.
you know, actually, because, I mean, who knows what other artists have actually made those because you just hear them rapping about what they're doing for others, but actually, did they fulfill those? So I like that part.
Yeah, a couple lines stood out to me. He says, maybe them pills the doctor prescribed me got me one to kill, and maybe I might. Maybe my family upset because I made it because no one expected that I would be famous. Kind of like blaming his troubles on the medication, which it could be true or false, but he's throwing that out there that once I started taking the medication, I've been having issues.
Yeah,
with people.
Man, we can talk about that all day. You know, one of the kids I used to work with, you know, and this is a theme I was going to bring up later on, but, you know, you get on a medication, oftentimes people will feel like, okay, I'm good. Like, I feel really good. I don't need this anymore. Right. The sad part is it's most likely the medication that got you to that point where you're starting to feel a little bit more control and a little bit more stable, but they want to get off it. Most of the kids that I've worked with when they're on medication, they really want to get off of it because they don't like the way it makes them feel. Right. And parents will report too, like, yeah, my kid's he's not really the same. So I worked with a 6-year-old. And so even though I think he was diagnosed with ADHD and autism. So, you know, there were times he could be bouncing off the wall. And even though those were frustrating times for dad to get him to focus and just to relax, it's like, I would rather him be like this than to be like this zonked out zombie. Because it's not him. It's not his personality. Right. So it's
very interesting. And then he goes on to say, which kind of stood out to me as well, is grandma told me, tone it down. I said, bitch, I'm older now. I ate at my auntie's house. She think I owe her now. And it just seems like he doesn't have a good relationship with his family or his extended family. Right. Where, you know, his grandma's kind of trying to give him advice. Hey, tone it down. You don't need to be so extra or whatever. And then he's just like, bitch, I'm older now. You can't tell me what to do.
Yeah, and he mentions that in other tracks too, where he says there's some family members that basically are coming out of the woodwork and like, hey, we're related. It's like, no, we're not related.
Or like saying, I ate in my aunt's house, and now she's saying I have to pay her.
Yeah, because you have fame house, now.
Which would never happen before.
Yeah, you have fame now. Oh yeah, you can remember that time I let you stay. I mean, how about you pass some over?
So I could understand how that would make anyone feel resentful towards their family. Like that would push anyone away.
Yeah,
I think,
especially
whether you're famous or not.
Yeah, especially when people come at you like you owe them something. So, but.
Yeah, I like the track. I thought it was cool. He said it's a good song. I think what my issue is that everything that he talks about in the song, pretty much the rest of the album is on the same topic. So it's like, this is a cool song if this was the only song that touched on these topics. Like, he just kept going in this direction of talking about these things throughout the album.
Yeah, and you know, I meant to bring this up earlier before we got in, but I was reading that this album, the first single that dropped for it was my favorite song on the track, I Love. And so that dropped October of 2018.
Right.
And between then, there have been 9 tracks that have released.
Right.
So I'm wondering if
out of a total
of 17.
It's less than that because there's 2 skits. There's 4 skits.
There's 4 skits. Oh, let me get to it. That was my whole point. That's my whole point. Is that, you know, there were 9 tracks released between here and there. So I'm wondering if this kind of goes to what you're saying. Is sometimes with the single that drops, it's not always inclusive of what the theme of the album is. So when you have released 9 tracks that have made the album, 4 of them are skits. And the total, I think, is 17. You only gave us 5 new tracks. And so I don't know if that's, you know, I don't know all the reasons of why it took so long to drop this album. But to just keep dropping songs as singles with the idea that they may not share the theme of the album, I feel like kind of goes into what you're saying. Because I felt the same way. This whole album is the ADHD is very underwhelming. It's a very like side thing to everything.
Right.
And
Yeah. And I think as we get into more of the songs, but we'll get into more of the themes of what this album is mostly talking about. And for the most part, it's mostly surface level stuff. I feel like the name of the album and the intro skit set you up for something that was should have been much deeper.
Okay.
That's how I felt.
The setup.
Yeah, the setup I felt didn't match what most of the songs were.
Mm-hmm. All right. And we have ISIS coming up after that featuring Logic. Yeah. And so when I was looking into this track a little bit, I saw that I didn't realize, because I don't religiously follow Joyner Lucas. Mm-hmm. And it's only as of recently I really started listening to Logic. But I didn't know that they had a beef together. Yeah. And this is the first track that brought them together. Well, the beef started when Tech Nine was like, hey, Logic, come out on my track. And if you've listened to a lot of Tech Nine albums, he always has a track that features a lot of different artists that just go quick. Those,
Choppers.
West Side, I forget, West Coast Choppers and other title tracks like that. But they always featured those artists that can go fast. And so they both Tech Nine and Joyner got upset with Logic because he gave a pretty lackluster verse. Mm-hmm. And it took him 6 months to deliver it, and he was out touring, he was busy. So then Joyner dissed him, and I think they had some diss tracks go back and forth. Mm-hmm. But obviously
I think Joyner was also upset with Logic because he felt like Logic took some of his concepts. And basically took his ideas, stole them, and made songs, basically copying. Yeah. Joyner. So he felt a way about that.
Yeah.
This is I think one of the doper songs in this album. I actually really like this song. I'm not a huge Logic fan. I do like some of his music. Mm-hmm. I've been listening to Logic since his early mixtapes when he first started putting them out many years ago. But once he started putting out his like studio albums, I just kind of it wasn't for me. Yeah. But he can spit. He can rap his ass off. I always enjoy hearing him on features. Mm-hmm. Like when he was featured on the Prime album with Royce, like that, or not. It wasn't on the album, but he did a song with Prime. That was super dope. Like he killed it on that.
Yeah, it's interesting because one of the kids I work with, actually two of them, I don't work with one of them anymore, but they both like Logic. And so in building rapport and getting to know them, I was like, okay, well, I haven't really listened to him. Who should I get into? Or which album should I start? And they're like, well, like Under Pressure's good. Everything else, which dropped in 2014, like everything else after that kind of begins to slide downhill. Mm-hmm. So I picked that up and I thought that was a cool album. But so that's my intro to Logic. But yeah, I mean, I thought they both went in on the track. I thought it was cool.
I thought Logic overshadowed Joyner. I thought he killed him on this song.
Yeah, you know what though? Sometimes I wonder if it's unfair when you have one verse versus someone's two.
Yeah, so, Logic went in.
Yeah,
he went in for a long time.
But he only had one verse, so it's like, is that a fair comparison? So, but I agree. Like in term bar for bar, I would lean Logic. But then again, with theme and what you're talking about, I would give it to Joyner. But, I thought this actually tied in a little bit to the first track. It at least gave me some knowledge behind it. Because if he's talking about how he lied and then he's focusing on himself, it's interesting to know that, hey, before I got famous, like I wasn't shit. And then also referring to, hey, for the 12th time, we don't share the same bloodline. And, just kind of a shout out to all the hate, all the doubters and stuff like that.
Exactly. So. Yeah. So they're both kind of just talking their shit, saying, everyone doubted us, but look where we're at now and we're killing the game and, spitting dope verses. I thought it was dope that Logic referenced Royce the 5'9" in this and acknowledged that Royce was the guy that kind of helped Logic and Joyner, do the song or drop their beef.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was cool.
Yeah, that was cool. It's nice that war subsided, as I make that segue. So the war, which it was, I don't know how I felt about this track. I'm not too big on Young Thug. I'm not too big on other artists that are like him, but I will give him some credit that like he contributed a nice sound and kind of flow melody wise to the song. It's still not gonna
it's catchy.
Yeah, it's catchy. Like it's a feel good listen. But like with Young Thug's bars, they're kind of weird because it's like
they don't really fit with the song.
They don't fit the song, but then it's like
he'll mention bragging about his material shit that he has.
But like he'll mention two things in a bar, and then the last thing just doesn't relate to it at all.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
Honestly, when I didn't even know what Young Thug was talking about. I couldn't really understand him until I read the lyrics. I didn't know what he was saying.
Yeah,
for me, basically this song is they're talking about Joyner is at least he's talking about he's picking the wrong type of girls for relationships, and he's picking girls that are after him for the money or for his fame, or they're not really wanting to be with him for him. But this song made me think of this, cliche saying, but I think it's true, is, the people that we go into relationships with, business, love relationships, friendships, those people are mere reflections of yourself. So if you're choosing women that are just chasing you for your money, it's because that's what he's doing. He's chasing fame and he's trying to do whatever he can to make money. That's his goal, is to be rich and famous. So you're going to attract that type of energy. And then to complain about it in a song, it's just, it doesn't do anything for me.
It's just all brag. I mean, I think it was his first line. I got a roll as a pink Chanel, like R.I.P. Prodigy. Like, I just don't, I don't get it.
I don't know. Maybe Prodigy had a pink rose. I don't know.
But there's just something about Young Thug where I don't care enough to look it up. So this is just me being picky, but I feel that for me, if like listening to his music, if it doesn't make sense to me, or if it's just this isn't even abstract, it's just, to me, it's just random. You don't have my interest.
Right.
I'm not in it.
Yeah. I made a note. This is kind of where the album dipped for me. It started to go down a little bit.
Yeah.
After the song.
I mean,
it has its up points again, but for the most part, I'm just like, this.
Yeah, I like that he had them in a very short. It was very short. It was minimal. There was a song, I can't remember who it was. It may have been Busta Rhymes, and I remember seeing Gucci Mane on the feature list. I'm like, man. All he did was the chorus. Oh, it was Ludacris. It was on a mixtape of his. Gotcha. And then you hear Gucci come on. It's just the chorus. I was like, okay, I'm fine with that.
Right. So Young Thug, he didn't have a big part.
Yeah, Young Thug in this, I wouldn't want to hear him more and more and more in this album. If they did like the Snoop Dogg and Dre thing, right. I wouldn't want to listen to that. It's like too much.
All right, so going into the Chris Tucker skit, what did you make of this?
You know what? I kind of went deeper on this one. Not deep, but what I thought was Chris Rock is basically portraying
Chris Tucker.
It's Chris Rock.
No, it's Chris Tucker.
It's Chris Tucker. That's what I said. It's Chris Tucker.
We'll edit that out.
It's Chris Tucker, obviously. So anyways, like, he is portraying what most people are probably telling him about his ADHD. Dude, you don't have it. You're just lazy. Hit some weed. You'll be fine. My mom had this and she's doing just fine. You're just making up excuses of dragging your album out. So that's what I really got from that, because that's typical. I mean, a lot of people, especially...
Just smoke your weed, you'll be all right.
Yeah, like especially for myself working in behavioral health in the schools, there's a lot of kids that will, quote unquote, they'll act up. And so some parents, or it's not even the parents, it's their relatives, it's the grandparents, it's the aunts and uncles that so happen not to have a kid with special needs. And they're like, dude, you're not strict enough. You're not being hard on them enough. So that's why they're acting out. So that's what I got from Chris Tucker saying, nah, man.
Yes. I thought it was funny. I mean, it's always good to hear Chris Tucker's voice. You don't hear it very often. I didn't see how how can you go from the intro skit talking with the doctor to this skit? Like, where's the connection? And then obviously we'll get into it later on with the Kevin Hart skit.
Yeah.
How do you go from the scary doctor calling a kid a retard to Chris Tucker to Kevin Hart back to the doctor? If you just look at the skits on this album.
I agree with you. It's rough drawing the skits into the tracks because you're wondering, well, where does this fit? Kevin Hart's track made sense.
It made a little bit more sense. At the same time, I'm just kind of like, both of these skits, it's just kind of a flex. Jordan's like, oh yeah, I'm in contact with these guys. They're legends, and I'm going to put them on my album. Like, what? There's no other reason for Chris Tucker to talk about ADHD. It's not like he has a connection to it or he's spoken out about ADHD.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just, it seems kind of random or just like a flex that he has these guys' numbers in his phone.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think I would still roll with my thoughts of, because if you're talking
but if you look at what Chris Tucker is saying, what I'm saying is you could have had someone else say those words and it would have the same meaning. Mm-hmm. It's not like Chris Tucker gives any more meaning to what he's saying. Oh, just go smoke weed if you have ADHD.
I mean, I guess, but what would your, with that theme, I guess, what would your, I don't know if I want, I don't know, what would your thoughts be of the allegory when Eminem talks about like a black plight from a white perspective at the same time? Like, do you need Eminem to do that, or could you have?
I think it's really powerful for Eminem to do that because he's the number one rapper of all time in terms of popularity. Mm-hmm. He has influence over the world in terms of people that are into hip hop. So if he starts talking about something, that's going to have great influence on the listeners and people who follow Eminem. And because of his position in black culture, he has something to say. What he says is really important because he is a part of it and he has contributed to it. What has Chris Tucker contributed to ADHD? You know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, it may not be fair of me to go that hard on it or like that deep.
Yeah.
You know, I could take it for what it is. It's a funny skit with Chris Tucker.
Yeah.
That could all just be what it is.
That could be. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's a solid point.
Yeah.
That's a solid point. So, but I don't know.
I mean, when I first listened to it, I enjoyed it. I was like, this is cool. I like hearing Chris Tucker. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
But then after I listened to this album this second or third time, I was just like, why is this here? I don't get it.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll leave it up to one of our listeners to kind of chime in and, I don't know. What are your thoughts on
maybe something deeper.
Jumping in. But what I did love is this next track.
Did you really? I did not love this song.
You didn't like this track?
No.
This is my favorite track on the whole album.
Really?
So it's weird because in another one of them, in reading another one of the reviews, they were saying things like Goldmine and Lotto were the slappers for this album. I was like, nah, I like those kind of dark, like, just head bobbing kind of beats to this stuff. So this is my favorite one.
The song's not that bad. The chorus is god awful. He just says "I love" 30 times in a row.
So
this is terrible writing.
No, who cares? But I mean, so behind that, there was I didn't watch the episode, but it was saying that it was in 2018, which makes sense. That's when it dropped. He's referring to success and fame and success. So with the song talking about I feel like the main message for the song is don't come between, with all these doubters, all these snakes in the grass coming out, don't come in between what I love. Right. And then it was referring to, the ADHD kind of cutting him off from saying what it actually is,
right.
Without the focus. But, with him, don't come in between what I love. Mm-hmm. So...
No, I like what he's talking about in this song. Mm-hmm. I like that he's saying he got sober and, he got flack for being sober, especially in the hip hop community. It's not really looked up to.
Right.
And, he's talking about how he's gained all the success in spite of all the people that didn't believe in him.
Right.
Or tried to pull him down. But at the same time, like I said before, this is another track with the same themes as I Lied. Mm-hmm. It's almost the same content-wise, it's almost the same song.
We could probably say it in the end, but I'll bring it up now, is that I don't think that ADHD was the best title for this album if you're going to go in thinking like, okay, this is the theme of this album. Because as we've mentioned a few times already, it's not the main theme of the album.
Right. The theme is getting money, dealing with shitty girls, and having success in spite of your doubters. Like,
right.
Those are the themes, really, if you want to break it down.
And the struggles are coming up. And maybe ADHD was part of the influence, but I mean, even at the end of the day, obviously for him to be successful, he overcame it, and he mentions that he overcame, or he still has it, but he says that he worked with.
I mean,
ADHD.
one of the things I said for the song is like it's a cool song, but the bars aren't as sharp as like them. They're not as creative or attention getting. They're very like plain. Like he's saying good things, but he does it in a very plain way. He's not using a lot of metaphors. He's not really making you think about what he's saying. It's very direct and simple.
Yeah.
It's not like a Royce where he's gonna layer his bars where they're you're gonna have to really think about it and they're connected to so many other things. So that's where I feel like Joyner kind of comes up short because he is put in that box of like a lyricist in terms of the new rappers. He's supposed to be able to come up with like really intricate bars and use metaphors and use all the tools that lyricists use.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel like it kind of came up short for me, a lot of these songs.
I can see that, but I mean, I think what I would say about this track is that this one, for my taste, is a hype one for me. So
a lot of energy.
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm playing this as I'm running. I'm playing this as I'm shooting hoops. So I kind of like those tracks to not have as much depth in them because it's like, okay, I'm going to use this track to get me going to, I'm going to finish up this last mile. I love this. And, I'm just going, I love, So I'm going in on that last 100 with that. So I don't mind the lack of depth on that. But I still like, I guess, also explaining the hype through of like that success of, again, working out, like I feel good and nothing can get between me and finishing this off. So I kind of like that because I'm using it to get me through other things.
Right.
But that's me. So I can see that.
Yeah. And then after that, we go into Devil's Work.
There's a lot about this song.
Yeah. This was a cool song for me. I liked it.
Yeah.
Really cool concept of he's basically having a conversation with God.
Yeah.
And he's dealing with his relationship with God and trying to come to terms with how death works and how it's chosen who gets to live and die.
Yeah. He's quite openly airing frustrations with God. In the beginning, it's towards God or perceived as towards God. And he's talking about, hey, they took Easy, they took Pac and Biggie, they, Martin Luther King, sorry. But yet we're still left with assholes. People that are detrimental to our culture, detrimental to our country, detrimental to, life. They're not upping people like the ones that you've taken away. And so I liked this one a lot because I was watching the TMZ interview that he did with them, and there was a lot of controversy with this song because he took shots at Donald Trump, he took shots at Tommy Lauren, and the other Fox host, can't remember her name, Laura Ingraham. But I thought it was an interesting concept, and despite the controversy that came towards it, these aren't things that people don't think about. If you've had someone pass away, one of the 5 things, what's it called?
Stages of grief.
Thank you. The stages of grief is bargaining. Bargaining when, you may say, why was it, I should have gone, or why couldn't they have taken this person, or things like that.
Why did they have to go?
Yeah, why did they have to go? We naturally do these things. I'll speak for myself because I had a friend pass a couple years ago, and these are one of the things that I went through. I didn't have a list of people. I was like, man, take this person instead. But you do think of, that saying, why do the good die young? Why are we still left with these people? So for people to kind of attack him, but then to act like we don't all go through this is kind of
and I think they're missing the point of the song. The point is he's talking to God directly. He's not saying that he wants any of these things to happen in real life. It's just he's having a conversation with God, and that relationship that he has with God is his own. He just happens to put it on a song, but that doesn't mean the people he mentions need to take it personally. Like, oh, he wants these people to actually die.
And naturally, any person's going to take it. They're going to take it personally. But that's what you were saying was what he was saying in the interview too. Is like, dude, this is my conversation with them. This is my relationship with them. Everyone else has a different relationship with God, but this is mine. And in the end, he mentions how I don't mean to take this out on you, get mad at you. I know this is the devil's work. This is the devil doing this. So anyone that's
it's a cool song. I enjoyed it. And then we go into Lotto, going back to girls and money.
And,
back to the themes of the album.
And this is what I'm talking about. Like, this album kind of, I don't want to overstate it too much, but there is not enough ADHD, a lot of focus on women and relationships, but then jumping back and forth. Like, you have these two where it's like, I love this success and whatnot. Okay, devil's work, you're taking all these people, but then, hey, I won the lotto. But, you can make the argument at the same time, too, that for what he's talking about, you get an element of, I came from nothing, I scored this check, I put that work in, now I have all this money. And it kind of does tie in with the last tracks that we were listening to, I Lied. Lied, The War, ISIS, just catching that fame, it ties into that.
Yeah, I mean, this is just another song with just basic lyrics. Like, there's nothing too intricate going on. It's very plain. It's the best way I can describe it. Like, the lines are, I got a check that I cashed out, A. Credit card maxed out, A. I get lit, then I act out, A. I ain't want to do it, but I blacked out, A. Like,
ooh.
Like, those aren't bars to me.
Bars.
It's I almost feel like he's dumbing down on purpose.
Yeah, you know what? I was going to ask you earlier. So I might screw some of these artists up, but I don't care. So, but with artists like Young Thug, Lil Pump, and any other mumble rappers and stuff like that don't have content, do you think, considering them, and some of the older, we'll use some of the rappers that we enjoy listening to as a reference, like maybe Eminem, Royce da 5'9", some Logic that he's done work with, Tech Nine. Do you feel like it's kind of a hybrid of the two? Because this is kind of the two different rap styles that have happened in the last decade.
Yeah, I could see that. He's almost copying a little bit of what some of the other more popular or famous artists that they're not lyricists, like you said, of Lil Pumps and all those guys that make the Migos, who make popular music that's catchy because of the flow and the beat and the way that they're using simple lyrics, but it stays in your head longer. People gravitate towards it because it's easier to digest.
Yeah,
I think there is a little bit of that going on, of him chasing that.
Yeah, I mean, when I was talking with this 18-year-old that I work with, we were kind of defining it as vibe music because it's really gotten away from the lyricism. So when we're doing our older albums, we're like, yeah, these are the themes that they're talking about. It's really cool. Where now it's just more of the beat and how it makes you feel. Maybe you're in a club setting and it's cool. Maybe you're just chilling with some friends smoking and you're just hanging out. But this song, from what you were saying earlier, when you were talking about the lyrics, I can kind of see that where he's watered it down a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's kind of disappointing because he has potential and we've seen the talent.
That's what I'm saying. Like, going from the crazy songs that he's put out and the music videos he's done with them, you would expect a lot more, I feel like.
Yeah.
In terms of lyrics.
But I feel like some of these artists, to me, I don't know if it's to fit. I don't want to say it's to stay relevant. I would want to say it's more to fit in. But when Eminem dropped Kamikaze, there were some elements of some trap in there that were kind of like, you didn't really do that before. That's kind of different for you.
Yeah.
It's kind of out of character. But, maybe that's his way of trying to relate and trying to get in with this new audience. Because you can't keep the old audience forever. You have to start, if you want to stay relevant and stay good, you have to bring in new people.
That makes sense.
So I'm wondering if it's a little bit of that. But, following that track, you have Kevin Hart coming in, where he's talking about, dude, you have all this money now. You need to pay me back because I helped you out last year, and I don't care if I'm 5'4", you think I'm 5'2", I'll whoop your ass with the Lil Uzi Vert album. Yeah. And so
it's funny.
It was funny.
I had a good laugh the first time, and then after that, it's like I skip it, or take it off. I don't need this.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, the takeaway from that was, I don't know. I have to say, and I'm going to be a broken record, but it's like I'm looking for the ADHD in some of these tracks. Because in other albums, when you hear a skit, it's usually in reference to something important.
Right.
Kamikaze, when Eminem was talking to Paul on the phone, it's like, hey, man, you don't have to pull up on these other people. Like, chill. I know that they dissed you, but just relax. Don't pull up. So it's like, oh, okay, Kamikaze. Everyone dissed you. Now you're going in. So I get it. And yeah. I think that's one of the downfalls of this album is you're led to believe that there's going to be more depth. If he didn't have the Doctor skits and maybe a different album title, and he just had lines or songs referencing ADHD, maybe we would have had a different response to the songs on this. Not like, I don't think it would have, if he talked more about ADHD, but it's the same songs, but he mentioned it more, I don't think I would like this album anymore, though. Well, what I'm getting at is if you just took ADHD out and then
put something else in there.
Put something else in, but it was more, but not out of. So if he kept the little bit of ADHD in each track that is already there, so it's just more of like this hint. It's more of a hint of ADHD. You're like, oh, okay, that sounds like this guy's ADHD. Instead of bam, ADHD, this guy has it. Let's hear what he has to say about it. And you're just like, where is it? So but. Moving on, Goldmine, I guess that's what happens after you hit the lotto. But I didn't know he worked at McDonald's. And I didn't know that was this come up of moving around from different chains. And, obviously with his goals. Because again, like the big thing behind this is that is come up. Come up is the bigger thing in this album. And so I started at McDonald's. And he also mentions how just over the course of any work that he's put in, he's always put in more than others. So he's always been like just balling hard, trying to get it going. And he got to a point where it got weird, but like enemies became fans. He's getting laid more, confidence going up. Yeah. But you get this hit that ADHD is lurking in the background and still like gonna mess his stuff up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this song didn't really do much for me. It's kind of the same old, I came from nothing, I did everything myself, and now I have money, and I'm good.
The come up, I think that's like strike 5 at least, and that's 10 tracks in minus 2 skits, so that would be 5 of 8. So, So finally, not this
with Chris Brown,
but
I like the beat, and I like the hook, like it was catchy and it was pleasant to listen to. I just wasn't able to pull much from it.
I got that, I think what I got from it was that obviously they can finally be free. There's no more pressure. They can do what they want to do. But I wasn't really sure I wasn't sold on from what. I got the impression that it was from a relationship, but I didn't know if it was like, hey, I got a hold on. I was like, oh, is it maybe you have a hold on your ADHD and your meds are good and you feel like you have control now?
No, so, I think he's talking about a girl.
I think he is.
The refrain is, baby, I ain't chasing that. I just made a stack. I gave you the world. Now I got to take it back.
Yeah.
Basically saying like he got into a relationship with a girl and didn't work out for whatever reason, and now he's taking it back. Like he doesn't want to deal with her anymore.
Yeah, and that's... and then that's basically going to come back again and Still Can't Love in track 15. So, yeah. So, I mean, what are the main themes so far? It's coming up, the struggle, and relationships.
Yep.
And that's only 3 that I named. And I'm going to say we can go for 10 being ADHD.
Right. All right. And then Now we go into
10 bands.
10 bands with Timbaland.
Haven't heard from him in a little while.
I know, right? I was kind of surprised seeing him.
Dude, I want to say he owned like the mid 2000s.
Yeah, the early to mid 2000s. Oh yeah, he was big time.
Ran game.
Yeah.
But I kept my nose short on this one. It was just basically the come up again, rags to riches. So he
got his 10 bands now, 20 bands.
Damn.
Yeah, and I wasn't that impressed with the Timbaland beat. It didn't really blow me away. Like it was just kind of like a throwaway track.
Yeah, I mean, if he released this as a single, I would kind of be like, okay, you're trying to get people on board, like, kind of something catchy. But I don't think it really. I think in this type of an album, you have room for one song that is money, whatever. I don't think that was it. I feel like he kind of blew his load with Lotto.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. 10 bands kind of. Too much.
He's saying once again. He's got his success and he overcame all his haters and he has a bad taste for love and relationships. Mm-hmm. It almost seemed like a girl burned him and he's just like, he's done with it.
And he mentions that in Broken Stupid, the last track, he has commitment issues. So, I guess if you want to say that if he says something later on in the album and it's kind of just this one line, I was like, oh, okay. Like he mentioned that a few times in the album. So I'll give him that. But I don't know. It just didn't really. I didn't need this song.
Right.
I didn't do it.
And then that leads into Revenge. My comment was, oh, wait, another song about sunning on his haters and getting revenge on them by being successful.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like the idea of the song of like him listing a bunch of contradictions. Mm-hmm. I want to cheat, but then my girlfriend leaves me. I want this check, and then this happens. Right. So, but I don't know. But again, the other note that as you did, wants revenge on the people that doubted him coming up.
Yeah, by just being successful and making more money, having more girls, selling more records, whatever.
Yeah, so that's kind of chalk up number 7 for the come up.
Yeah.
So the album.
I'm glad you're keeping count.
Yeah,
I lost count.
Album should be called the come up. Something like that. But then this next track is the one. It's not even a track, but it's the other skit that you were mentioning earlier, comprehensive evaluation. So now the doctor's apologizing for going in on him, but not apologizing.
Yeah, it's very like manipulative behavior from the doctor.
It's like, I'm sorry for calling you a punk bitch for your bitch ass behavior.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of a backwards ass apology.
But it gets super creepy again. Mm-hmm. Like, here, Joyner, give me your backpack. I'm going to put some cocaine
slip some cocaine in there and lean, and we'll get you right back on track.
You're going to take it if you want your ADHD to go away.
Right. Because you were already saying you didn't like how this medication was making you feel, so this will help it and make you feel great. Mm-hmm. So, but I don't know. I just didn't really.
It's a weird place. It comes after Revenge. I guess it kind of leads into the album titled song ADHD. But yeah, it doesn't quite fit the narrative of most of the songs in this album.
Yeah.
It's such like a dark and like creepy vibe. And then the songs are all high energy and up tempo and kind of bright.
Yeah. Which if you've worked with a kid with ADHD, they are kind of up tempo and bright and all that. So if you want to want to say that. But going into ADHD, he does talk about the struggles of coming up with the disorder. Mm-hmm. He touches on it. Right. He doesn't want to take drugs, and this is what I was talking about earlier, where me working with kids that are taking certain medications, but they don't want to. They want to get off of these because they don't like the way that it makes them feel. I worked with a kid that was taking like 8 different medications, and so he doesn't want to be on all that.
Right.
Doesn't make him feel great. But Joyner's talking about how it's hard to focus. Talks about the problem when people feel like they no longer need drugs because they feel fine. We touched on that earlier. But I can see that skit coming into this by, well, if this is how you feel about it, then let's get you something else. But, now I almost want to, I don't know how to ask the question, but you want to go back to, is that the doctor's obviously not his doctor that's like, hey, I'm here to help you. So with this track and looking back at the skit, does that give you a better idea of who the doctor may actually be? Could it be an influence of some sort?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That I almost thought this was a voice inside of his head, where it's that dark voice telling you to do something that you don't think is right.
Yeah.
So and it keeps nagging at you to do it. Like, you're not going to fit in unless you do it. You need to take these drugs, or otherwise you're never going to feel better. Yeah. And he does mention drugs throughout this album of, I'm sober. I don't do drugs. Right. I don't drink. I don't do that stuff. And like you said, maybe that's because he took medication for ADHD and he had, a negative effect on him. So he just withdrew from all drugs. He didn't want to have any effects on himself.
Yeah. And you know what, though? Like, that just made me, I just had a thought from that. And this comes into the next track, Still Can't Love. Because I think in the later end of this song, he talks about love being a drug and how he doesn't want to anything to do with that. So, as we said earlier, when you have any type of mental disorder, it makes it really hard to maintain certain relationships. And even establishing a relationship, making a friend is difficult. Right. So I'm wondering if all these love references equate to, if love being a drug, and like, I don't want anything to do with that, because that also messes me up. So if he's getting fame, as he's noted in a lot of these other tracks, and it's drawing the wrong crowd, half of them being females, which he's attracted to, he gets involved with them and they just steer him down the wrong road. Maybe that's also a problem for him too. And maybe that's why love as a drug is another big topic on this one.
Yeah. So he looks at love the same way he looks at any other drug.
Exactly. So, I mean, well, when you have an epiphany like mid-podcast. So I'm just like, man, maybe like all that stuff does kind of fit in and make sense. And I feel that.
This song is... I like the message. I like what he's talking about, and he's being open, and he's talking about his depression and what he's gone through. Mm-hmm. But the sound of it just sounded like a bad rendition of a Post Malone song. I mentioned that to you before. He's almost a wannabe black Post Malone. Like in this song, he's like kind of singing like it's a sing, yeah, because he's singing throughout the chorus. Yeah, it kind of feels like. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's almost like he has a British accent. I don't know. It was odd to me. It didn't quite fit with who he is as a rapper.
Side note, I've been watching 100 Humans on Netflix, and they were saying that Americans like British accents. So statistically speaking, you should like the song. So,
that's funny.
But I it's weird because Fabulous is on here, and I have to say he's been around since the early 2000s.
Well, he's on Still Can't Love. I was still talking about ADHD.
Oh, we moved on to Still Can't Love.
No, I went back.
Oh, yeah, my bad. 'Cause we were talking about that, but I was saying like in reference to the love and the drugs, and that's when I went back in. But officially being on Still Can't Love, but that's why I was saying, like, with his relationship with females, them searching for the attention, the money, the limelight, not really being into him. Like, one of the things in his finding of love that's detrimental for him and not working out. But it sounds like he's developing a type of control over it, though, too. So before he's talking about, like, we get in, it sounds like he's just being with them just to be with them. But then in this track, it's almost a level of maturity where he says, got a nice face and a body, but what do you bring to the table? So yeah, you're here, I'm hitting, but like, you're not going to be around, I don't need you. But going back to Fabulous, I thought, this guy's been around for a while, and he's kind of, in terms of what's some of the like one of the awards in the NBA, like most improved player or something like along those lines. Fabulous is probably behind Ludacris for me in that if you were to pass out that award, just because his lyricism and his cadence has just gotten so much better. I feel like I can keep up with him a lot more, and I just like his style. It's very smooth. But he's one of those two that it's been around for a while, but he's been putting out a lot of side like mixtapes and stuff, but he's not putting out anything big. He didn't come back into the spotlight like Eminem or like Ludacris did or like Dr. Dre did for a second. It's kind of low. Like,
right.
Pretty low.
Yeah, he's pretty low key right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an alright song. I don't have much to say about it.
Yeah, it's not one that I was putting on
meh
repeat.
song. Very meh.
Oh. Meh.
Meh.
M-E-H, man.
Yeah.
Oh, what'd you think of Will?
When I initially saw the music video with it, I liked it a lot. I thought it was a really cool concept. Really cool to pay homage to Will Smith, who is such an important figure, not just in acting or Hollywood or just famous people in general, but in hip hop.
Yeah,
he had a huge influence.
Yeah,
on hip hop in the early days, with DJ Jazzy Jeff. And it's a cool song. I like all the references to all of his movies, and doing it in a creative way and applying it to himself
and his son.
Yeah, it's cool. It doesn't have a lot of replay value for me. It's like once you hear it, it's like, oh, that's cool. I get it.
Huh?
I like the song. I'm just not so hyped to go back to it.
Yeah, I'm indifferent. Like I think it's cool because one of the things he said that he wanted to give props to him now, because we really do only give props to people as they pass away. Kobe, like we all know he's great, but we didn't. But I don't know how to tie this in as well as I could. But he's like, just channeling all this props to Will Smith now, where how many other people that have passed away did we do that? Did an artist do that or someone else do that while they were still alive? Like we know that they're great and we kind of just leave it alone, but then we come to it once they're gone. So I really like that. And I like
that's really cool.
Yeah. And I liked how he talked about, not only, like you said, it wasn't just Will's fame and his fortune or, necessarily his company. It was just everything all around, like his relationship. He wants to be like Will and Jada. He wants his son to be like Jaden and Willow, to come up like them, where they're obviously taken care of. They have, they have careers and stuff of their own with the help of their father, who really built the foundation for them to build on. So I thought it was cool. The music video was dope. I liked all those transitions.
Really well made.
He looked like Will in some of them, not in the beginning, but when he was walking in the beginning, when it starts with him walking like Fresh Prince, I was like, oh, Will? And then he turns on, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I liked it. I liked that track.
Yeah. And then to finish off the album, it goes into Broken Stupid.
Broken Stupid.
Yeah, this was my favorite beat on the whole album.
Really?
Yeah, I love the sample. It was definitely a nod to 90s hip hop that sampled 70s records and stuff like that.
I like the bass and I like the transition because the beat's going one way and then it just kind of
it's the
transforms a little bit and it goes a little bit. I really like that. It was probably my second favorite after because I love.
Yeah, I like the beat. Like I said, I like the song. It's cool. I mean, it's basically just a recap of the themes of the album.
Yeah, it's really just recapping everything in there. ADHD was why I was slow, and now they label me different. Bad relationships in the past, they gave him commitment issues. We saw themes of that. He's
a hustler. He makes money. He came from nothing. Now he's able to buy everything that he wanted to that he couldn't before. And he has ADHD, but he was still able to overcome that and accomplish all of his goals.
Right. So, and then it's, in reference to being broke and stupid, there's different levels of that he notes that could be worse. You could be ugly, sick, broken, stupid. Right. And that's just the worst.
Yeah, there's always levels to it.
Yeah, you can be broken, stupid, and still make it. But if you're ugly and broken, stupid, that's bad. If you're sick, ugly, broken, stupid, then it's just kind of the end of that. Yeah. So that concludes it. Yeah.
That concludes it. So what? Yeah. What is your overall take of the album? For instance, would you, if we weren't doing the podcast, Would you listen to this album more than once? Would you put any of the songs on playlists, like you said, for working out or anything like that? Would you pull anything from this that you would continue to listen to?
I mean, there's like a way I want to answer the question, and then I'm not sure. Like, I just think of, like, if you said, hey, pick 4 tracks and then never listen to this album again, I would be fine with that. Yeah. I could do that. I mean, it's, as we've talked about other albums that we've done, there's some that are just cool stories. Even if it's a movie, I was just talking earlier about the movie Ex Machina. Ex Machina is a super dope. It's a dope movie.
Great movie. Yeah.
It's not something that you watch every couple months, perhaps. I watched it once last year. I want to watch it again this year. But this album, I would say, doesn't fall in that category. It's like a movie such as Anchorman.
Okay.
It's like Anchorman, where the movie's good, but we mostly use it for one-liners from the movie. You don't really need to see the whole thing. Napoleon Dynamite.
Right.
We just one-line it. I kind of think of that, and I can say, and this isn't special. I can say this about any album where you're not. It's like, okay, it was okay, but I'm just taking certain songs from it and writing with those. So it's like I'm running away with I Love, I'm running away with Broken Stupid, and Will. Like I would be showing people the music video for Will. That's what I would be doing. If I'm showing you the music video for Will, I don't need to show you the rest of the album, nor would I say like, oh man, if you really like that, you should check out the rest of the album. I'm not. That's where I stand on that.
Yeah. It was tough because I really wanted to like this album. I listened to it maybe 4 or 5 times all the way through, and I was almost forcing myself to like it. I was like, there's got to be more to it, and there must be stuff I'm missing. The biggest issue is just the overall sound. I'm not a huge fan of the beats that he chose for this album. They didn't really grab me like I wanted to, and I don't even know most of the producers I looked them up. I didn't really know who most of them were. So I don't know if the label was trying to save money on producers, or those are his friends that he came up with, or those are his in-house producers. I don't know. I really wanted to like this album because I like Joyner. Yeah, I think he's a great rapper, and I think he has a lot of cool things to say, and he has done a lot of great songs. Yeah, and music videos, and he's really talented, and he has a vision. I just don't think he brought a full vision to this project. Yeah, he didn't fully flesh it out. I feel like.
I don't think he has a lot of talent, and I don't think he brought it all with him in terms of really telling a story behind the concept of this album. With it being titled ADHD, I didn't see a lot of ADHD references within the tracks. In each track, there was a hint of it.
But if you're going to mention it.
Yeah, but if you're going to title it, you need to have more substance to it, and it needs more. So that's just what I would need. To answer the question for myself that I asked you earlier about, if it were titled differently, what would it change? And, maybe it wouldn't change much, but it would. It almost feels like in spite, where you want to say, man, that had nothing to do with ADHD, so I'm not really going to listen to that. Where if it were just titled something else and fit the themes that are actually in this album, you're like, yeah, okay, like, I'm listening. So I don't know, but like I said, I'm just picking and pulling a couple tracks. I'm not going to go through the whole thing.
So who are you playing this for? Are you playing it for friends, other people, or are you going to play this for yourself, or none of the above?
Man, like there's bits and pieces that I'm taking from this album and placing it in certain areas. If I want to show you a really cool music video that takes away from the mumble rap and actually shows homage to someone, I'm playing Will for people. And it was also just a cool one in general. If I'm building a playlist because I want to work out and I want to get hyped up, I'm taking I Love from it. If I just kind of want to build not a mixtape. If I want to build like a playlist for something, I'm taking out, I'm going to put in I Lied. I'm going to put in a couple other ones or whatever else. And Devil's Work, like I'm going to play that for people like, hey, what do you think of this track? Like, what do you think of everything that's happening in our culture? What do you think of this? Yeah. So that's what I'm taking pieces and putting them in certain areas, but I'm not playing the whole thing for you. Yeah. So, but what about you? Are you bumping this for people? Are you?
I don't think I would play this for anyone. I wouldn't be like hyped, like, oh, you need to check out this song from this album, or you need to check out this whole album.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a lot from it. I'm not really feeling that hyped to share it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll revisit this album anytime soon. I don't even think I would add any of these songs to my playlist, because I have listened to it quite a bit. I've listened to it 4 or 5 times all the way through. So I know this song's in and out. I don't feel like I need to revisit them. I've gotten everything that I can get out of this project.
Yeah.
At this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. So with that said, that's our rap thoughts on Joyner Lucas's debut album, ADHD.
Yeah. It's so weird that it's a debut album, but
yeah.
but definitely let us know what you guys think. Share your thoughts. Definitely check us out. We're on Facebook. We're on Spotify. We're on Twitter. Did I forget one?
Facebook, Spotify. Did you say Instagram?
Instagram. Yeah. So, just check us out. Give us a like. Share us.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts so you're always up to date. We share episodes every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you subscribe so you get the episodes right when they come out. Make sure you follow us on Spotify. Do whatever you do on Google Podcasts. And yeah, we look forward to hearing your rap thoughts.